we got a big day coming up. 2 days, Saturday, August 29th. That's the day that Steph Curry becomes extension eligible. And Anthony Slater of ESPN reported yesterday when he was talking about how they finalized the team, got their 2 roster spots underhand with Williams and Niang. And this is what he wrote. I want to get your thoughts on it. The sides are expected to engage with a mutual desire to keep Curry with the Warriors for the entirety of his career. Team sources continue to confirm. Again, that's from Anthony Slater of ESPN. So it sounds like, I don't know whether it'll be on Saturday, but it sounds like shortly we're going to find out that Steph just ho-hum as some people expected. Some people were speculating wouldn't happen. It doesn't sound like he's going to dance around or to put pressure on people, and he's just going to ink that deal.
And that would be the Steph Curry we've all loved, we've come to love and respect. And, I'm not shocked at all, but as a, lifelong Warrior fan, pre-Steph, Evan, you kind of hope, in this world now where we see athletes play cards that they've earned, and you could call them selfish cards, you could call them winning cards, but the bottom line is Steph Curry must not at all be close to being irritated with where this team is. And when you ask me where this team is, I don't know right now. But I feel like they're on the outskirts looking in, if I'm looking at them through a championship prism. But I would love for Steph to kind of light a fire and put some pressure on the organization. But when I read that from Slate's, I think of all the conversations we've been blessed to have in face-to-face with Steph, all the sound that he shared with him, coming from him. Evan, this is just the way it's going to be, and it doesn't sound like, we're going to see him publicly be so upset to where he's going to, put demands. He's a Warrior, and it looks like he's going out a Warrior, and he'll deal with, the play-in, hopefully playoffs, but won't cause a stink.
Do you want to know what I thought about it when I read it? I want to know what the entirety of his career is defined as. Like, I'm going to be honest. When I read that, Steph Curry becomes extension eligible Saturday. Sides are expected to engage with a mutual desire to keep Curry with the Warriors for the entirety of his career. I thought, so does that mean he's retiring in 3 years? Like, if you sign a 2-year, he's eligible for a 2-year, $136.7 million extension. I don't know if he'll do all of it. I don't know if he'll get most of it.
Right.
Whatever the number is what the number is. But by the end of that contract, he'll be in his age 41 season. So does that mean that this is the last contract extension that Steph Curry is going to sign? That's where my mind went.
I like that. But when you say 41-year-old Steph Curry, as opposed to where he is right now with runner's knee, I think at that point we've seen the best of him. So you might be right. He could wrap it up in 3 years after this new possible extension. But the bottom line is he, at 41 years old, then at that point, I know for a fact that we've seen the best version of him. And again, at that point, it kind of like it doesn't matter if it makes any sense.
Well, it matters how much he signs for, but
just him being at that age and where he's at in the 14th and 15th round of his career at the age of 41. At that point, did Superman still got his cape?
No, but I don't think anybody's ever talked about him like there's an end date or an expiration date. And maybe it's just, like the entirety of his career. I got to be honest. So if Steph Curry has 2 more years after this left in his career, how are they going to look? And you're right. I think the best of Steph is behind him.
I mean, you hope not, but come on now, 41.
Well, 41, but that's the thing, though. It's like we've been talking about this guy like he's just going to play forever. And I know LeBron is coming up on his age 42 season, but that's completely out of the ordinary.
He's got help. We're running this guy on the ground.
Well, but LeBron's not going to be a number one option. To me, it's not about whether Steph's a 1 or a 2 or a 3 at this point. I think if he signs a 2-year deal and he wants to retire a Warrior, I think he's okay if he doesn't win another championship.
I get that. And he has to know that now because let's be real. He's no dummy. He's a basketball savant. And so are the people around him. So are the people in the organization. You know where you're at and what your reality is. And if they really feel like what they've put together by adding Niang, and again, I know for a lot of people, Williams, this doesn't move the needle, but you get Jimmy back and everybody's healthy. And I'm talking about Porzingis and Yaxo takes off and Dre has a good year. Evan, who knows? And I'm being so real with that. And I know it's a different sport. After the Niners won 12 damn games last year, who the hell knows? But to your point, I feel like the chef is okay with, you know what, if I don't get number 5 and we go out there and try the ball, that'll be suffice for me.
Well, and wouldn't it make sense that if Steph only has a couple of years left, or if this is his last contract extension, then wouldn't it make sense that the reports or rumors that Lacob and Golden State are looking after Steph? I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
No doubt.
If you knew the expiration date of one of your coworkers,
I give you that, man.
Wouldn't you start thinking about what's going to happen after them?
Especially if it's, I don't want to say soon, but if it comes, let's just say, 2 years came.
And that might be best case scenario if his runner's knee is actually serious.
And I got emotional. I was in my feelings, shocker, when Kawakami had just shared, not what Lacob said, but kind of alluded to, like they were focused on life without Curry. But if it's that fast and you're staring at it, I totally understand that.
Well, and I wonder if fans understand it. 888-957-9570. Maybe that makes this summer make a little more sense. It's funny because the first, 2 or 3 weeks of free agency when they were, quote unquote, courting LeBron, everyone, especially a lot of national media members, were saying, what are you doing? Cash in the chips. Got to go all in for Steph. What if this is his last contract extension? Does that change the way that you look at going all in? I personally don't believe they've done everything for him in the past, but the problem that I run into now, Gu, is just because you didn't do it then doesn't mean you should all of a sudden now do it. Like, if he's going to retire in a couple of years, which seems perfectly reasonable given his age and maybe his injury, then how can you go all in for a guy that you know is not going to be a part of your team in 3 or 4 years?
Well, I'll say this. That's why after, and I'm fast forwarding this season, this summer is big to me. There's still a stop sign and an exit that says all in for Steph. And Evan, that will be when these books reset and the Warriors got some capital to play with. I will be eager to see which way they go and how much they go all in for Steph. And then on top of that, what also excites me about this, because did I really think he was leaving? No. Or he would play that card? I was hoping, but I was still hoping at the end he would still end up a Warrior. But what excites me is that number. I still want to see this number.
What if it's $136.7 million?
And the same thing applies. Like, do you think he would really do that? He just sold the house. I ain't counting your chicken, Steph, but come on, Evan. Is he really going to do that to the organization?
He might. I mean, some people believe that he deserves it.
And
even then, he's underpaid.
Would you change your opinion on the chef? If let's just say he maxed that baby out. And would it be fair to do that on one instance as opposed to a whole decade of what this guy has been on and off the court for the city of the Bay, all the surrounding cities? Would that be fair enough?
I would be surprised if he asked for everything.
I like that word.
Because I think it would end up just becoming a lifetime achievement contract, essentially.
Yeah, no doubt.
We're paying you for what you've done.
Which I have no problem with.
No, it's hard to sit up here and criticize because of everything he's done as the greatest player in franchise history and one of the greatest athletes the Bay Area has ever seen.
You own it.
But from a micro standpoint, it's going to hurt the Warriors' chances to do anything.
That's a fact. And that's why I don't think, I think they'll meet in the middle, man.
Well, I think they will too. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe it's 55. Maybe it's just not all. I don't know what it's going to be. But we're going to find out on Saturday. Again, the 29th on Saturday is when Curry becomes extension eligible. ESPN's Anthony Slater is reporting that the two sides want to engage with a mutual desire to have Curry with the Warriors for the entirety of his career.
Yeah.
And again, that's from team sources. By the way, this is from the 510, who is asking if they could sign him to a longer contract. The veteran maximum is 2 years on an extension. Once you pass the age of, I think, 38, or maybe it's 36. Regardless, Curry can't sign for more than 2 years. And the 510 is also bringing up a fair point. He gave up money early in his career, so he should take it all now. I don't look at it as him giving up money early because he signed a contract when he was hurt. At the time, it was probably risky for both sides, and that's why his price was suppressed. But I understand that if he wants the max, the Warriors probably are in a position where they have to give it to him.
There's no doubt. And Joe Lacob probably would pull up, or Mike Dunleavy be like, hello, I got you.
I mean, I don't think they want to. The one thing that would change my mind, I guess, about Steph a little bit, I mean, I love the guy. I think everyone does. He might be the most beloved athlete.
And Nat, go ahead.
But
people hate Bron.
Well, yeah, that's true. If he
Ron.
If he signed a contract and that prohibited the Warriors from going out to get someone, say, next summer, then I would look at him differently, because you're directly impacting not just your chance to contend or get back into competition, but also the Warriors' ability to build for the future.
And he said, remember, I used to hate it. Oh, we're going to leave it better than when we got it. I hated that. But what you just described to me is who Steph Curry is, and that's why I expect he won't do that. So the organization can help itself, Evan, and Steph Curry can help himself, try to get as close to as possible that 5th championship.
The other part, too, about...
Dude is presidential, man.
Well, okay, so but next summer you said next year they can go all in for Steph.
There's an exit.
What if we're done with the all in for Steph thing? What if we're done with that?
Now, it's a loaded question to me, because I need to see this season. But if you're telling me Curry's going to average 26, 27, shoot 40 from 3, play 61, 60 games, and looks like Steph Curry, I would be more emotional that they blew past that exit, when I'm like, man, he just shown you another year. He's still the dude. So I would feel like we got a year or two, and I know you're like, let's add to it.
What I think they're trying to do is gear themselves up for next summer when they can go out and get a player better than him.
And he probably wants that.
Well, he probably does.
And he's been wanting it.
But that will become the player that they then build around. They're no longer building around Steph Curry. And I think we need to get our minds wrapped around that.
No, I'm with you, but I'm asking you, you say that as if we all know it. I think it's just sacrilegious that they've been doing it this long, and it's a problem on the front office that you don't have anybody that we can say, okay, you're next. Or are you telling me that at all? Because I don't see any next right now, and that's a problem.
No, they don't have the next.
I love me some Yaxel.
Well, maybe it is Yaxel. Maybe it's the guy they draft next year.
Could have been Wiseman. Could have been Kuminga. Okay, let that go. But that's the bottom line.
But what I'm feeling is that people want the Warriors to make rash, bold decisions now because they didn't do it 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm with you there. If there was a time to maximize 30, it was going to be after the championship. It was going to be in 23 or 24. They got Jimmy last year. I guess not 2 seasons ago.
And that was first. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But But now is not that time. Now is the time you start to wind down. And it feels like the frustration from the past few seasons are boiling to the point. It's a little bit like the Giants. You brought up how, well, the Giants have been stuck in this place for so long, and that's what makes this season all the more frustrating. And it's like, yeah, well, Buster Posey and Tony Vitello just got here. Yeah, so you have to separate regimes. The Warriors are in a much different place than they were 3 or 4 years ago because their best players have aged right before our eyes.
But I still feel
Steph less than Draymond Green.
Do you have a problem with me? And I got to watch my verbiage. I still think there's a IOU that they owe Steph Curry, and there's a case study where we can make Steph Curry seem like he's underpaid to what Joe Lacob has made and what he's turned this organization into. Because when you look at what the Warriors are worth, let's put the right on the table, brought to you by Atco Pest Control. That's the Steph Curry factor. It all started and ends with Steph to me. Now, I know there's other things that go into it. So when you say that, not Lifetime Achievement Award, I went BET, but when you said that, everything that he's meant, there's a part of that I feel like the Warriors are a slave to in regard to, you can't even fix your face or mouth to act like you're going to get tricky or do something to not undermine Steph, be cheap with them. And that's why I feel like there's going to be a blank check. It starts there. Steph won't exercise that at all. And he knows it'll help him and the organization in the future. But if you're telling me there's a Jaylen Brown this upcoming summer somewhere because there's Fallout City in another place, Evan, you best believe I hope Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy making those 100 calls would be on there trying to add and hopefully get that player for however much Steph has left. And if he's young enough and you're lucky enough for that player to be that young, he could be part of your future.
Well, I think you're right, but what they're not willing to do, which is what they've shown us this summer, is they're not willing to mortgage the entirety of their future for that one player.
Well, Joe Lacob, to that point, said he had a couple deals to where there were some first-round picks in it.
And why didn't they do them? Because the team probably wanted everything. Everyone's trying to take everything from the Warriors right now.
Take two to tango.
I think the Warriors are in a place where they're seen by the rest of the league as desperate, and they can be had. I mean, what was it, a couple of years ago? One of the reasons that they didn't get Markkanen was, yes, they didn't want to include Bajensky, but also because people wanted to spend 3 first-round picks on Trey Murphy. Okay, that prevents you from then going to get the next Trey Murphy because you don't have anything left to deal with. You have nothing to build with. My biggest issue with some of the rhetoric around a potential Jaylen Brown deal or whatever superstar you felt like the Warriors were in on is the fact that if you put Jaylen Brown here with nothing else, this team is still not good enough. You're still going to be in a similar situation where you stare up at the end of the year and say, wow, we're a piece away. How we're a guy away.
But him and Steph would have been way more dynamic than what we're hoping anything's going to manifest this season. And then when Steph's done, Jaylen Brown would still be.
But does that elevate you into a top 4 team in the Western Conference?
I don't know. I doubt it, but it's better than what I think people and how excitement people are looking for at this team right now.
Well, of course. They're not exciting right now. But the team is trying to protect themselves from what they don't know.
And they've done that to this degree. If they haven't done anything, I know they just added 2 guys, and we're having fun. They hadn't done anything, but they have held on to those picks.
That's because that's all they have. That's all they have because they have failed to draft whatever could come next. They've failed to identify in a deal a potential player that's young and that could step in and potentially take the mantle. They've failed to find the next, whatever you want to call it, face.
But they tried.
Figure.
They were in on Kawhi. And to your point, I love what you said.
Well, but Kawhi Leonard's not going to be the next face of the Warriors. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard's 35 years old.
My point is what they were willing to try and do. And they were thirsty. And they tried LeBron. They tried Kawhi. We don't know if they tried Giannis.
They did.
So they weren't just sitting back and you're making valid points, but Joe Lacob was trying to go Arsenio Hall and get busy.
Well, he was. I think a couple of years ago he was. And maybe this offseason, the last trade deadline, Giannis was, but they weren't willing to give everything up for those guys. And they were willing to do it on their terms without sacrificing everything. And that's why in the end, their deals weren't good enough. And it sounds like from everything I've read, other teams have been asking the Warriors to overpay for every player they've been quote unquote in on. Except for LeBron, who had the choice, and he chose a team that he believed he could win with, which wasn't Golden State. So if we're just talking about trades, if you're the Warriors and every team is telling you, well, we want everything you have for our guy, then what are you left with? Nothing. You can't do that. At least to me, there's not been some offer out there that I've read about. 4 first-round picks for Jaylen Brown. I'm sorry. I'm out on that.
Too much, yeah.
Jaylen Brown's a really good basketball player, but that is...
You got to be 24, 23 or something for that, for me.
I know.